Hello and welcome to chapter 22, competitive markets, the second part of a pure competition. So as we know from the previous chapter, in a purely competitive market, the market for perfect competition, you have many firms within the industry, and they have several distinguishing characteristics, and they are identical products. So if you are selling corn or if you have a dry cleaning store, they're all selling, or t-shirts, it's the same product. There are a lot of firms in the market. Everybody knows how much the other consumers and producers have perfect information. You as a consumer know that the t-shirt is selling for $5, and you know where to buy from. So if the price goes up, they lose the market share. So even the sellers know what they are, so they do not have any control over the price. So there is perfect information on part of the buyers and sellers. So lots of firms with perfect information about pricing, similar products, identical t-shirts, or whether it's a dry cleaning service, basic, or it's a florist shop. And in that, the marginal cost equals the price, which we'll talk about later, and low barriers to entry because it's easy. So if I open a t-shirt business and I'm reaping huge profits, everybody else notices it, and because there is perfect information and because there are very few barriers to entry, you will also set up shop and you will try selling those t-shirts. And since I cannot charge more than you, or you cannot charge more, because everybody has perfect information. So they are price takers because of these low barriers, lots of competition. And in the long run, if I made $100,000 and I'm the only one, lots of sellers, then more businesses will enter the market and you notice it. So we share the profits. So in the long run, nobody earns an economic profit, and in the long run, it is zero economic profit in pure competition because of the perfect information. And as I mentioned earlier, barriers to entry are none. They're not existent. That means it's easy to enter the market. So you don't have any patents or you don't control the resources. Anybody can set up shop. So it's ease of entry is there and ease of exit. So in competitive markets, economic profits obviously will attract, everybody notices, and they enter the market. And because of the low barriers, new firms enter. And in the long run, there are zero economic profits. So if you look at the market supply is nothing but each individual farmer, A, B plus C. You add all of these together, and that is your total market supply. You add them across. And this MC curve, or the marginal cost curve, is same as the supply curve, because the farmers are not willing to supply if they don't cover their costs. So therefore, market supply is usually upward sloping, and it is the sum of the marginal cost curve. So that is the market supply curve. The marginal cost curve and the supply curve are synonymous. Okay, so that is what the market supply is, simply adding those across, and it's upward sloping because initially the law of diminishing marginal returns, you become efficient, but beyond a certain point the law takes in effect, the diminishing marginal returns, and it costs you more because your costs of production have gone up. So the marginal supply curve or the marginal cost curve, the supply curve or the marginal cost curve is upward sloping, it goes up. Okay. So we discussed that if there are economic profits, it is noticed, and firms, that will push the supply curve downwards. So what happens is, as more firms enter the industry, so here we have a price of P1. This is the point where we are at. Let me see if I can grab a pen or even a line, a squiggly line. Okay. So here we have at point E1, this is the price. We can get away with price P1. Okay, so let me pause here for. So when we look at the initial price, it is E1, and you can charge that price. But as more and people notice you're making money, so the supply is more now in the market. So that pushes, and the demand curve is downward sloping, so that pushes the price downward. So initially you could make all of this profit, and now as at the new price level, this is only the area of profit you can make. So that's all, this is all the profit, because it is shared by others, and there's a downward pressure on the prices, and since they are price takers, they cannot change the price. So they have to take their price takers, so they have to take the market price. So as more and more entrants come into the market, so the profits go down. Eventually there is zero economic profit. So the market supply shifts. As new firms enter the market, the price drops towards the minimum ATC. So the long run equilibrium, but price will equal your marginal cost, and it'll be at the minimum average total cost, and where entrance will cease after that. Okay. So in the long run, entry and exit is entry and exit ceases. Okay. Let me move on. So here's the pressure for the competitive pressure is here. You can see as the new supply curve moves down, your price is lowered from $1,000. Your computers were $1,000, but as more people entered the market, more firms, now it is only $800. So your profit was all of this before the other entrants came in. Your price was $1,000, and you made a good amount of profit. This was your average total cost, and you made all of this as the profit, this whole area as the profit. And now the price fell to 800, so this is all the profit that you make. And the profits go down, and when losses are incurred, obviously firms will exit the industry until it comes back to the equilibrium where price equals minimum ATC. Okay. So the shift of the long run market equilibrium, we looked at that. Okay, the profits. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the short run equilibrium, price equals MC, where the price and the marginal cost will be the same. That's your short run equilibrium. And then the long run, the price will equal MC equals average total cost. That means nobody is making an economic profit. They're just making normal profits. So there's no economic profit. So the price will come to minimum ATC, and if it's further down, obviously there's a loss, so firms will exit. So this is the long run equilibrium, where price equals marginal cost equals average total cost. So these are the simple rules that you can remember for the long run equilibrium. Let me go back here. Okay, so if the price is greater than your average total cost, obviously there are profits. New firms will enter the industry, and existing firms will try to make money. And if price is less than average total cost, I mean, obviously if you're charging less than what it costs, your average total cost, there is a loss. So firms will close shop and get out of the industry, and eventually it'll come back to an equilibrium where price equals average total cost, where they break even. So there is no exit or entry, and existing firms maintain their capacity. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. When do we shut down? So firm is when it cannot even cover its average variable cost, it is going to shut down, and there is an example in your course documents. So shutdown point is when price equals average variable cost. So if you cannot, by operating, you're incurring more losses. Basically, that's what it's saying. You're not even covering your fixed costs. Forget about your fixed costs. You can't even pay whatever for the materials that you bought. You cannot even cover that. So you're better off closing so the exit has to happen when you cannot even cover your variable costs. Okay. So going back to the market mechanism is best in competitive markets because of huge competition. They're price takers. So the only thing that they can change is the total cost. So technological innovation happens in the cost minimization. So one is people are getting what they want at the marginal cost. exactly. And the market mechanism works better. High profits indicate that consumers want a different mix of output and more entrants enter the market. And it is the right mix. The one is the marginal cost pricing. The price equals your marginal cost. It's not greater than the marginal cost, whatever consumers are willing to pay. And in the long run, there's a huge pressure for the industry. Average total cost technological innovation happens. And as there is more and more supply, of course, the pressure is to lower your average total cost. So the long run equilibrium is where industry ATC, where price equals a minimum ATC equals your MC. So that's what your long run equilibrium is versus the short run equilibrium. So the quest encourages producers to discover cheaper ways to manufacture the product, and that results shifting the average total cost curve down, and that is technological innovation. So as high profits indicate that more firms will enter the market, it attracts new suppliers, then the supply shifts to the right, and then the prices go down, slide down the market demand curve. And once that happens, and a new equilibrium is reached with increased quantities being produced, and eventually through the competitive pressures, the price equals they earn zero economic profit, and you have to be a step ahead of the game by constantly technologically innovating, and the only thing you can change is the cost, average total cost. By bringing the average total cost down, you can survive in the business. So hope you understand this. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay.